Hey everybody, thanks for dropping by. In this video we're going to talk about feeding your reef. There are two important points here. First, use a variety of foods and supplements. Also, it's extremely important to feed your entire reef. For a healthy reef, I believe it's best if you use a holistic approach, targeting the entire food chain in your system. Hopefully you took my advice and seeded your reef with copepods. You'll want to keep your pod population healthy and reproducing in your tank. To accomplish this, I feed phytoplankton daily. Phyto and marine plankton are the very base of the food chain in your aquarium. Some hobbyists will culture their own phyto. It's not hard to do, and there are lots of videos online that teach you how. But for me, life is just too short, and I'd rather pay what amounts to about $5 a month and forget about it. I use Phyto Feast from Reef Nutrition because it's good stuff to use. Your pods, inverts, and your corals all benefit from daily feeding of phytoplankton. So let's talk about feeding your fish. In this tank, I just have the 2 clownfish and a small yellow watchman goby. The yellow watchman spends his day pecking at copepods in the sand, but you want to supplement his diet with a good frozen food. The clownfish are pigs. They'll eat anything you throw in the tank. But don't go cheap. You want them to live long, fat, happy lives. Now here's a pro tip. Stimulate their appetite before feeding with fish roe. I use these super eggs from Aqua Edibles and the fish dig them. Just put in a few drops and your fish will go crazy for them. Also, if you have a finicky fish, try these. I've not seen a fish yet that won't eat them. Now I stay away from flakes and pellets. These have too much filler in them that I don't trust. Use frozen food. There are lots of good options for frozen marine food. The best I've found is this Rod's food. It's full of all natural high quality seafood, and it won't skank up your water with a bunch of additives and unnecessary crap your fish don't need. But here's another pro tip. Soak your frozen food in Celcon. This stuff does wonders for your fish. Celcon is full of vitamins and minerals and shit that will keep your fish healthy and active, and it really brightens up their colors. Now this stuff smells like rotten fish butt, so try not to get it on you. It will definitely hang around. Just put a few drops on a little chunk of food and let it soak in for a few minutes as the food melts. Now these fish are small, so I like to smush up the food real good before feeding. Now the Celcon is going to cloud up your tank a little bit, but everything in your tank benefits from it, and it clears right up when you turn your pumps back on. Now let's talk about feeding your corals. It's true that photosynthetic corals don't really need to be fed, but I've noticed that feeding them seems to speed up their growth and increase polyp size, and it really enhances their colors. There are all kinds of different coral foods on the market. Many of them are just snake oil, but there are a few products I've found that actually work. The main food I use to feed my corals is Benereef from Benepets. I can't say enough good things about this product. It contains ingredients that benefit everything in your tank, including probiotics and beneficial bacteria to boost your biological filtration. Corals love it. All filter feeders love it. And even small fish will eat it due to its wide range of particle sizes. My clownfish will line up and eat it right from the feeder tube. Everyone has their own way of doing things, but this is how I do it and it works well. I just combine everything together and feed all at once. The first thing I put in is Reef Enhance. This creates sort of a marine plankton soup. It contains unhatched cysts that need to sit for about 15 minutes to hatch. I've had good results in larger tanks with this stuff. The jury is still out on this tank. Next I add the Benereef. This also needs to sit for a few minutes for the bacteria to activate. And next a little pinch of reefroids. But go easy with this shit. Using a lot of it can really blow up your phosphates and nitrates. Now on the days I'm feeding coral, I just add the phytoplankton right into the soup. And finally I add a few drops of Brightwell's Coralamino supplement. This stuff is balls. Bulk Reef Supply has a great video about Coralamino and why you should use it. I'll link the video below. So use a lid and shake it up real good. Now let it sit for 20 minutes or so, giving it a good shake every few minutes. First you should turn off your return pumps, your wave pumps, your UV sterilizer, and your skimmer while feeding your coral. I also like to leave my skimmer and UV sterilizer off for about an hour after feeding. I never broadcast feed. I strictly target feed my corals. There's probably nothing wrong with broadcast feeding, but I like to make sure everything gets what it needs. Just use a turkey baster and make sure all of your corals get a good dose of it. And yes, this will cloud your water, especially the Reef Enhance. It makes a nice, thick reef snow. But don't worry about that. Just let it sit and settle for a few minutes. Once you turn your pumps back on, it will clear up pretty quick. And don't worry about using an exact recipe. I never follow directions. Experiment with different foods and ingredients and amounts, and find what works best for your system. A couple times a week, I like to feed my acans some PE frozen mysis shrimp soaked in Celcon. Acans, more than most other corals, really seem to benefit from these supplemental feedings. Shortly after feeding on mysis shrimp, the acans really color up nicely and puff out big. Now, the two most important things to remember are to use a variety of foods and make sure to feed your entire reef. I feed the fish and dose phytoplankton once a day, every day, and I feed the corals 2 or 3 times a week. Especially in the beginning and when you add new livestock, check your water parameters constantly. If your nitrates and phosphates are rising, you could be feeding too much. If you're having trouble with nuisance algae, you might need to cut back your feeding schedule or adjust your lighting or photo period. Just pay close attention to what's going on in your aquarium, and eventually you'll find that sweet spot. Reef keeping is all about getting to know your tank and what it requires from you to grow and thrive. Every reef tank is unique, and no one should know what your system needs better than you. Well, once again, I hope you've enjoyed the video and you were able to learn something. I'll continue to post updates on this tank, and I hope you'll follow along and watch it grow out and mature. I'll be starting a new tank build shortly, and if you'd like to follow the new build, just hit the subscribe button and smash the bell for new updates. And until next time, be nice to each other out there and try to have some fun with this reefing thing.